Gozaimasu, y'all. It's morning time. Headed to get some breakfast and kind of walking down this little nondescript street. Something caught my eye. This is a little house that's behind me. Very typical, like, old style house in Kyoto. It's not abnormal for an old style Japanese house, but there's a lot of them still in Kyoto. I was just walking by, I was like, what does this little thing say next to the mailbox? In English? Milk box? It's a milk box? That feels old. Japan holds on to some traditions, but I ain't never seen no milk delivery, dude. It's not like the 1950s up in here anymore. So I don't know, maybe I mean something else, I don't know. But I mean, it says milk box, right? This is a really nice sign, especially for a place with a lot of tourists. It's kind of showing you like, yo, this is where you can go to get to a subway station. And it's super clear and nice and big. I love it. Tokyo, take note. I've now eaten 3 meals in 3 restaurants in Kyoto, and all 3 of them, for some reason, I haven't been able to film inside of. Today's was very explicit. On the menu that they bring you out, it's got a giant white page saying, do not talk in this place without a mask on. So like no like eating and chatting and no like, just don't chat is basically what this says. And it's like COVID restriction stuff. This is the type of cafe where you would normally be allowed to chat. The good news is that the food was really good. I'm really into these like Showa era toast restaurants for breakfast. Got a couple of them in our neighborhood in Asakusa, and I'm gonna miss them when we move. But in neighborhoods like in Kyoto and stuff, you're gonna definitely find a surplus of this type of vibe. And I looked up like the nearest one to us, and it was that one. So I hoofed it over there. It was only a few minutes from our hotel, my hotel. Sometimes I feel weird using the royal us. And the speciality that they had was like a toast set with some sausage, some scrambled egg, some potato salad. What was special about this specifically was the peanut butter that they put on the toast. And this is toast like, it's like a thick toast. It's good stuff. But the peanut butter was made in-house, and it's probably the best peanut butter I've ever had. It was like kind of a little crunchy and stuff, and I know some people don't like crunchy peanut butter and those people are wrong, but it had like the right amount of sweetness and the texture was good and it smelled really nice, and like it was like I didn't think I was gonna leave being like, well, my peanut butter game has changed, but it has. Another thing that they did with the sides in the potato salad is they put a spice into the potato salad. Like it had kick in a good way, because potato salad is kind of boring sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like it's fine, but this is actually a pleasant surprise. I'm gonna think about like putting spice in my own potato salad in the future if I ever decide to cook anything again. The eggs were fine. The sausage was actually pretty good. A little bit of kick to it too. The vibe of the place was all right. It was like a lot of old dudes in there reading newspapers, and by the time I left, the place was like full. Like every seat had an old dude in it reading a newspaper. The one complaint I have is apparently in Kyoto you can still smoke cigarettes in restaurants. So the restaurant can choose, I suppose, and they choose to allow smoking. So that's kind of a bummer if you're like, you know, enjoying all this like delicious peanut butter and all of a sudden like, it's just not my thing. Like it ruins the experience. Your taste buds are like overwhelmed by, you know, the smell of the cigarette smoke or whatever. So I could have gone without that part. So the thing that sucks is like I would go there tomorrow, but I'll probably avoid it just because of this. Like I wanted to get more peanut butter in my life, but then I'm like, oh, well, some old dudes in there smoking, and then I got, you know what I'm saying. Of other notes, I was in there being a famous Instagrammer. And I was taking a picture of my food with my phone, and then I dropped it on the peanut butter. So that was a bummer. A distinctive feature of Kyoto that most people don't think of, I guess, when they think of coming here, they think of all the touristy stuff and everything, is kind of the way that the neighborhoods and stuff are laid out. The city is on a pretty strong grid structure, and a lot of the neighborhoods feel kind of the same, but kind of in a cool way because it's unique from other parts of Japan. And I thought that a way that I could show this is just by picking a random street that I've never walked down before and filming it, and just let's see what is down the street. I'll walk an entire block, and we'll just I'll just walk down it. I'll give you an Eric's eye view of what we're looking at and see what we discover. I've been walking in this neighborhood for a few minutes, so I kind of have an idea of the vibe that I think I'm going to catch on this. And it's not like, oh my gosh, wow, this is super awesome and picturesque, but this is more like, this is what the actual living areas of the city look like. And anyways, yeah, let's just do it and see how this works out. And if this is bad, then I just won't put it in the video. But I think it's going to be all right because I've been kind of fascinated personally with everything I'm finding. Okay, for reference, this is where we're gonna start. This is the corner of the street, and I'm gonna walk down to the other corner that's gonna be down this direction here. And like I said, I've never been down here. I don't know if anything is special, but let's find out. The first thing that I notice is there's this little pot here, and there's like shells in the pot. I don't have any idea why, but it's a thing. And let's go on. So this looks like it's maybe a commercial type of building, a business of some sort. And it's possible there could be living conditions or living structures up top. You come over here and you're instantly greeted with like an older style building. And that's kind of just noted by the type of ceiling tile or roof tiling that they've got there. And clearly this is a residence. And this says like, don't let your dog use the bathroom here. This little sign. So I guess there's been a problem. They've got a hose here. Probably old people live here, come out and like spray down the street. It's like the thing you see. This is a I'm gonna cross the street here. This is gonna be like a mid-aged building. So like this one looks much older in style. This one looks like it's still kind of older, but not quite as old as this one. It could just be a stylistic thing. They could have been built at the same time. They could have just chosen different styles or whatever. But this is not like a super modern building either. This is a shop. And I'm like looking into the glare of the sun. It's hard to see things. I can't determine what they sell based on, it looks like lanterns, actually. I can't, this is, the sign is a mess to read. So, but yeah, it looks like they sell lanterns just based on what's going on there. This is a electric mail. That guy just went by. He's delivering mail on a scooter. It's an electric scooter. There's quite a bit of traffic on this road. Older lady in this little building. She's got a sign on the front of her building here that is saying they're trying to recruit for like a preschool. But I don't think that's a preschool. I think it's just a sign that's up. Maybe somebody in her family is a preschool person or whatever. Try to cross the road. There's been a lot of traffic. Okay, so if we look back over here, this is like apartment buildings and stuff. And this is a larger apartment building. How many floors is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a parking area on the bottom. So it's about a 6-floor building. Next to it, there's one a couple stories bigger than that. This is a delivery bicycle. So think like UPS. But in this case, it's called Yamato Kuroneko. Like the logo is amazing. Like it's like a cat carrying another cat because, you know, deliveries. Love it. So this dude is delivering all these packages on like a bicycle with a little trailer. And I almost walked into him. I'm gonna see, this is a more modern, you know, living quarters. This is a paid parking lot. So a couple of cars here are paying to park. And let's see, I thought I'd get to see the price on that side too. So it looks like it's a maximum of 1,200 yen or 500 yen, depending on what time of day that you're parking. Or 30 minutes is 200 yen, 60 minutes is 100 yen, depending on the daytime. So at night it's cheaper. Let's see, on this side of the road, that's even more modern looking as far as a mansion, which is what these types of apartments are called. Another residence, home residence here. Some more mansions. These red poles are a bit bizarre. You might be able to tell there's not a lot of greenery. There's not a lot of trees and stuff. This little flower pot is about all we got. Okay, waiting for some traffic here. Yeah, for a little residential road, it feels like there's a lot of traffic, but you don't notice it until like you start trying to do something. Okay, so there's the electric mailman scooter. So this is like the postal service mailman, not like a third-party company or whatever. It's like the national postal service. This dude parked right where I wanted to show you something. There's a little shrine. Just chilling there, like just a random little shrine. I don't want to go over there and get up in his business though. Over here we've just got a vending machine. I haven't even noticed if I walk past any more of them. And I noticed there's another vending machine right here. Okay, so this looks like another business, kind of a larger building. And another kind of like, I guess like that's residence, probably. I don't think it's a single family home. Probably multiple people live there, but it's possible it's a single family home. Multiple families. And directly next to it is a much older building. So this is a building that I would say this might be the oldest looking building I've seen on the street so far. I have seen no like super modern housing yet on this block. We're getting to the end. This is just an empty parking area. That's not going to be like free parking. That somebody owns that. Like there really is no free on street or even in parking lot parking in cities like this. This looks like probably residential up top. It could be sometimes it's hard to determine. It could be like a hotel or something, like a small ryokan, but the sign does not give me that feeling. It doesn't say specifically what it is. All right, let's see. Over here, this is a lineup of, so this looks like it was built recently. And then some older buildings here. It's a company of some sort. It's a company name. Not sure what it does. And then I'm going to cross over one more time. That's probably a single family home. And then you get this kind of thing where it's like the side of this building is kind of like rustic looking, like it's this metal paneling. You'll see this kind of commonly actually in cities. I don't know what this is the edge of. It looks like residential on the top and a building of some sort on the bottom. A building, company of some sort on the bottom. And I'm going to cross the street here, and this is a park. So there's like a neighborhood park here. And as you can see, the ground is just dirt. It's not like grass or anything. We call them kitty litter parks because it kind of feels like standing in kitty litter when you're in there. And that's the end of this little block. I'm not going to keep going too far, but you can see them. This is a much smaller little area, and this is probably going to be more residential, but I mean, you can see these signs that are way down here. Those are also going to indicate this businesses. So it's just a little, kind of a more narrow, shorter version of kind of what I just walked down with a lot less traffic. Looks like I'm going to be hanging out on the east side of the city, the same as I did yesterday. And I prefer, honestly, to like walk as much as I can, especially in a walkable place like Kyoto, as opposed to taking the public transportation, just because it gives me an idea to like, the opportunity to sniff out like what's going on in the neighborhood and like just see what things look like, see where people live. And this side of the city is so peaceful and nice. There's this little canal that runs through it, and it's just like unbelievably picturesque. Buildings around it are mostly residential style, but a lot of them have been converted into like Airbnbs and ryokan and things like that, like small Japanese hotels. So but the vibe, it's just so like peaceful and nice. I sat there and just chilled with this little canal for a while and watched leaves fall off the trees and drift down the little canal. This is magical. The city has got so much charm. Other things of note, especially to me, is in this neighborhood, the old official Nintendo headquarters from like the 1880s, I think, where they made Hanafuda cards, I think is what they were called, Hanafuda. I think I have that right. And they're kind of like playing cards. It's like a Japanese style playing card thing. And that's what Nintendo originally did. And then they made toys and stuff like later. And then, of course, they made video games and the Marios and the Birdos and whatnot. But this is like kind of like for a Nintendo fan, like a really historical building. And I've seen it before. And you could see like the sign out front and stuff that said Nintendo on it. And it's just got this really cool classical feel. And I believe they still use it for something, but it's not like a thing that's like, it's not their headquarters anymore. That's like a big white box on the other side of the city that says Nintendo with like the modern sign, you know, their modern like logo with a circle or whatever. So this is just like kind of like something that they're holding on to. And the thing that is of note all of a sudden is that it's apparently under renovation. Like they're renovating the inside and outside. I watched them actually lower an air conditioning unit into the building. So something's being done. I wonder if they have any plans for it that would be of interest. It would be really cool if they turned it into like some sort of like Nintendo museum or something for the public. That would be amazing. But I don't know if this neighborhood could support those kinds of crowds, and I don't know if that building could support those kinds of crowds. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, they're up to something. I mean, I'm just glad that they see that they're not tearing it down and replacing it with something. It's a cool looking building, and even though the people walking by it probably don't think anything twice of it, for a Nintendo fanboy, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is something sweet about it. This is a slightly bigger canal that runs a couple blocks over from the really peaceful one I was talking about earlier. They're clearly doing some sort of renovation or something here, but check this out. Look at all these fans. They're all on and just like blowing randomly outside. I've never seen that before. Well, here's a controversial find. Just kind of walking, and of course I came across a thing. And this is gonna start off a little weird, but the first thing I thought when I saw this little mound was, wow, that kind of looks like something I would see in Korea, which is gonna get dark in a second here. I thought that before I knew what I was looking at. Okay, so apparently in like the late 1500s, the Japanese army invaded Korea. Now, this isn't uncommon to have invasions taking place. However, in this particular case, during that invasion, apparently it was especially brutal, according to the placard that is written in front of this mound. And during the invasion, they would cut off the ears and noses of soldiers in Korea, and then they brought them all back here and buried them in this mound. So there's like thousands and thousands of people's like body parts that are buried in there from this like invasion that took place in the late 1500s. So I felt weird about that because, I mean, first off, like, I mean, that's a terrible thing. And second off, the fact that I was like, oh, that looks Korean. And I wonder, is it styled that way on purpose? Like, we saw mounds like this that were tombs and stuff when we were in Korea way like 10 years ago.
These are royal tombs.
That's what made me think of it. And something about the way that the stone structure on the top of it looks, it just, for some reason, and I'm not an expert at all, it just looked more Korean feeling than it does Japanese feeling. I don't know how to explain why I think that. It's just what struck me when I first saw it. The placard is written in Japanese and in Korean. Most of the placards here are written in Japanese and English. It's interesting, of course, that in this case they chose to put Korean on there, and I can't read a word of Korean. I can't read anything in Korean, so I can't tell what mood it's written in. But the Japanese, to me, seems to be written in a "this is a bad thing we did" type of thing. So it becomes complicated. Like, I think some people would be very angry because this could be seen as like a bragging type of memorial. So I can see this being very sensitive. But regardless, you don't come across that type of thing very often, and it's really tragic and terrible is what it is. I'm totally not going to get into the conversation on whether or not this should be here. I think that is outside of my scope of expertise, and it's a really controversial thing. However, I'm looking at this, and the way it seems to be presented is in a more of a memorial way than like a war trophies way, I guess. That's just my vibe. And the reason I think that is, one, because of the way the language is written on the sign, and two, because they presented some of the information like in Korean so people can understand what it actually is all about. But again, who knows what the mood of the Korean written language there is. I don't know if it's written in a way to appease or make angry. And three, because there's like flowers and stuff here, and that feels more like memorial. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just the vibe I get. Again, it's a shocking find. This is a reason that I like to walk places, is because you end up finding things that are like kind of challenging or interesting or whatever. You never know what you're going to find around the next corner. I kind of wish I could get in there and maybe get a better look at things. And there's actually QR codes on this sign that you can scan to get English translations. And I'd like to see the mood they chose to write this in English as well. Like, Just you can get a lot out of what kind of verbiage is used on signs to see is this like a propaganda thing or a memorial thing or whatever, and it just would be interesting to see it in another language. But I can't get in there because for some reason the gate is locked, and I guess I could step over the gate because I'm huge, but probably not a good idea to do that at such a place. I've been hammering on about how good it is to walk everywhere. That works until it becomes like an area where there's not a lot around you, which is where I've ended up. And the double whammy is that it's up a hill, and it's like an hour walk. I don't know how far up a hill I'm going, but I'm going to hopefully find a burger. But you know, if you put in this much effort, there's going to be some like logistical detail. Like they won't have buns, or the place will just be closed, or you know, whatever. I did everything I could do to like figure out if it'll exist or not, but we'll see. I'm really starting to feel like public transportation was the way to go here. I now no longer have a footpath. Taking my life into my hands for this. Ah! All right, don't trust Google Maps. Google Maps says I can go like through this gate here and then keep walking, and it'll take me over this big tunnel I'm trying to get over. But the dude at the gate was like, no, you can't go through there. And he was kind of vague on if like, no, I'm not allowed to, like just because like I'm not allowed to for whatever reason, or no, it doesn't connect. Like he was just like, like. So I don't know. The sign out front says like you can't come in if you're not like part of their like that area's people's in the evening, but it's not in the evening right now, so I don't know. The dude wasn't exactly like ridiculously friendly. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to this place. Essentially the issue that I'm running into is that there's a tunnel up here, and the sign here says there's like no walking path, there's no way to walk through this tunnel. So you have to have a vehicle to get through the side of this mountain, which is what I walked way up like over here to try to go through this path that Google said was a footpath, and that old guy was like, no. So then I came all the way back down, and now I'm like waiting for a bus, which should only be a few minutes. But yeah, it's a bummer when like, I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere at this point, but it's kind of a bummer when like you got to have a vehicle to get to a place. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, so bus. By the way, buses in Kyoto, like if you live here, you probably get used to it, but the bus network here is really complicated. The map is like, you're looking at it, you're like, okay, where am I? What am I looking at? It's so much stuff on such a small little area that it's just hard to use the bus network here, like as a tourist, which is interesting because like nearly everybody that comes to Kyoto seems to be a tourist. Well, not now, but you know, usually there's a lot of tourists. The bus system is just harder to use than I wish it was. That's all. Okay, I made it to the other side of the hill. The bus got me through the tunnel. These kids are yelling at each other across this field. Anyway, and because I'm an idiot and I read that chart wrong, I got on the wrong bus, but it got me through the tunnel. So now instead of getting me really close to where I wanted to end up, I now have it still to go walk 20 minutes. The bus turned and I was like, why is the bus turning and not staying on the road? And like I'm looking around inside and I figured out that his end of line was not the end of line that I thought. But because I don't know the geography of the area, it gets really complicated. You know what I'm saying? You don't know where things go. That's why I prefer trains, y'all. Trains are easier to understand. They're not perfectly easy, but they're on rails. And like usually, unless there's like multiple lines overlaid on top of each other, you can kind of suss out like this is going the right direction or whatever. But with a bus, they can turn off and do all kinds of craziness. It's just complicated. Train life, y'all. All right, so remember when I said there'd be a logistical issue because the amount of effort that I put in was high and therefore something will fail? Something has failed. I got to the place and like, this is just like along like a road out here. This is not like tourist town anymore. I'm just in the burbs basically. It's a nice little area. I mean, people live over here, it's fine, but the place that I was tipped off to on Instagram was a place that had really interesting looking burgers. Like, they look really cool. And it's a butcher shop, which is a bit strange because it's not a restaurant exactly. But I was like, okay, so I mean, I looked on the internet and stuff. People like posting pictures of burgers and stuff. And I was like, okay, I can bust up in here and get a burger. Only, no, you can't. You can't get burgers. I went in there and I looked around for a minute and probably looked like ridiculously confused. And then I came outside, stood in the parking lot for a couple minutes and like, I'm just double checking, like, am I at the right place? And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the right place. And the staff like just kind of stood around at the window and stared at me. And then eventually one of them came out, like they knew I was looking for something and they knew I was confused, but I didn't want to like start talking about burgers in there and then they'll be like, what are you talking about? I want to make sure I was at least in the right like ballpark of locations, right? So I verified that, and as I'm doing that, they're like watching me, and one of the dudes comes out and he was just like, do you need a hand? And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm looking for like burgers. And he was like, we don't do that anymore. And I was like, oh, dag. But he knew what I was talking about. Like, I'm in the right place, but it's just like they don't do it anymore. He didn't explain why or anything. And now I'm out in the burbs, and it's been a huge amount of effort, and it's getting late. Like, for lunch anyways. What time is it? It's 1:35. It took me like 2 hours or something. So yeah, the more effort you put in, the more likely failure happens. So don't try. Whoa, the Shinkansen's gonna go by though. Watch. And done. Of interesting note, that place has got a vending machine in the parking lot that you can buy meat out of. So that's a thing, meat vending machine. That's what I got to learn today from this trek to Mordor. All right, I got a burger. I came back over to the side of the city where everything is at. I got outside of the burbs, took a bus, make it easier, and just got off the bus, like kind of in a central area, and was like, okay, where's a burger? And I typed in burger, and I picked the closest place I could come to. It's a place called Smile Burger. Had good ratings and stuff. And the reason that I wanted a burger is because I've been thinking about a burger for like hours now, and I was like, yeah, this is the thing that has to happen now. So it's kind of like a trendy little burger joint, right? Which is pretty common in Japan now, like gourmet burgers and stuff have become a thing. I'm so hungry. So I ordered a ginger ale, and I actually got a sandwich instead of a burger, but it's like a sandwich with like a burger inside of it, right? So he's put like legitimately like just like burger meat inside of there, and it's got barbecue sauce with it. And I also ordered a ginger ale. And does anybody outside of Japan know about this brand, this Wilkinson's brand? They're really good. I found it when we first moved here, and I mean, maybe it's from outside. It sounds like it's from outside Japan, but maybe it's from inside Japan. I don't know. But you can get it in like sweet or spicy, and I always get the spicy one, and it's like legit spicy. Like it burns in your nose a little bit. I really suggest it if you want a challenge. It's kind of like that wasabi burn that you get in your nose, right? But from ginger ale. It doesn't taste like wasabi. It's just like that same like burning like sensation, you know? All right, let's get into some of this barbecue sandal. Looks like there's some onion on it, some tomato, and he said there's barbecue sauce. It's really good. It's like the grilled tomato and stuff. Or I'm sorry, grilled onion. It's got a little charcoal flavor, char grilled flavor to it. The barbecue sauce isn't like overwhelming or anything, and I'm gonna be that guy and say that sandwiches are easier to eat than burgers, because this is in like 4 nice little pieces as opposed to like this burger that falls apart when you try to eat it, because everybody makes 2 burgers that are too tall and instead of making them wide. So that's really what drove me in the direction of the sando instead of the burger. Mostly though, I just want that beef patty. I don't know if this was worth all the work that I did today for a burger, but it's not bad. I'm killing a bit of time before it gets dark. I'm gonna go check out like this illumination thing if it's happening, unless it's like too much effort, then it won't be happening for logistical reasons. We know how that works. Anyways, so I've come up over into the tourist area again, and there's a bunch of little shops like I had shown yesterday. One of them has this guy. This is like a pickled cucumber. I think it's called Kyde in Japanese, like the thing. We're gonna flop around. And this lady has infused flavor of a lemon into it. So I was like, okay, that's kind of unique. So I'm gonna eat the thing now. This is really more of like a hot like weather thing. But it's kind of cold. I mean, it's December, y'all. It's really good. It's like super simple, but I mean, it's really good. I really like Kyde. Like, I like to just cut them up and eat them raw, like straight up. But you infuse lemon into it. Yo, this is pretty tasty. It's almost like juicy, but still got that crunch. Like, somebody had a good idea. I'm into it. Kind of hoofing it through this little, like, you know, nice little touristy area, and there's a pagoda here, and there's all these people like taking pictures with the pagoda from different angles, and they're like wedding attire, basically, like they're taking wedding photos, and it's like super like beautiful like area, right? And right next to the pagoda, when you get down next to it, is this wall of really bizarre art, and it's like gruesome and sexual, and gruesome is probably the best word I can use. And I'm not trying to be judgmental of art or anything. People can do what they like, and it definitely caught my eye, and I stopped and looked at it, and everybody that walks by is like, oh, that's scary. I think everybody has got a comment that like all these tourists, these groups of children, like high school students and stuff, are walking by, and they're just like so it's bizarre to have it in this place. And then also there's a little sign, and they've written this in English and in Japanese actually, that says that if you take any pictures of this stuff, like give me 100 yen, like me being a little frog. So I gave the little frog 100 yen, and I filmed it because I was like, is this frog gonna make noise or something? You know what I mean? Like, you never know what's gonna happen. But it just ate my 100 yen, which is fine, because, like, you know, whatever. But it does seem like a strange place to put this, you know? Like, it's going to be like hordes of children and tourists, and I don't know. It's a weird place to be making a statement. This little shrine has got a cool take on the write a wish or a thank you on a thing and then hang it at the shrine for good luck. What it is a little like fabric ball, and you take a Sharpie and you write your message on the little fabric ball, and then you stick it on the shrine. And the cool part is that they are all like a bunch of colors. And shrines aren't usually a place that is like wildly colorful. Usually things, you know, there's orange and black and white and maybe some browns from the woods and stuff, but not this explosive amount of color that's coming out of this place. And I walked around, I took a look at some of the messages that are on there, and a lot of them are things that are just like, thanks to my family, or I hope everybody has good health, or I'm glad that I had a good trip and had a good time with the people I came with them on this trip to Kyoto. And the one that caught my eye the most was one that said, thank you to Sumo. And Sumo is like a website you use for finding houses, like a real estate searcher. And I'm feeling that way too, because we found our house on Sumo as well. I mean, we had a real estate agent help us, but we found it initially on Sumo. So I guess I'm kind of feeling thankful towards Sumo as well. It almost feels like I came ahead of myself and left a message that I wouldn't have thought to make. I'm walking past the kanji museum that I walked past yesterday, where they are having like, not a contest, but like you can fill in your idea for what the kanji of the year should be. And I was thinking about it last night and then this morning, and I was like, I came up with one. And it should be the kanji moku, is like to be quiet. And on that menu this morning at the restaurant that I ate at, it said like mokushoku, no speaking during the time that you're in the restaurant. And you see that, like, it's kind of a new word, to be honest. Like, mokushoku isn't in a dictionary, but like you can kind of infer what it means if you know what both of the kanjis mean, like quiet eating. And I've started to see it like everywhere. It's like a new word being born. And I don't know, I think I just kind of feel like it's like kind of indicative of the times, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, we got this thing happening, we've got all these extra rules we're supposed to have. So I just wrote down, hey, we should try that kanji. It's the best thing I could think of. Okay, what we got here is a tenga shop. And for those of you who may not know, a tenga is like a sex toy, right? This is not super abnormal. But what caught my eye was the name of this. I mean, first off, I don't know what that is. But second off, look at the name. Like, that's not a good, like, what? No. Get a better name, y'all. That's no good. The shop behind me caught my eye because there's no Japanese written on it at all. I mean, it also just kind of looks cool, but it's all Korean. Everything on it is Korean. And looked inside, the menus are in Korean, but like with little tiny Japanese explanations underneath of them. So I wonder if this is like a really legit Korean restaurant. It's really crowded in there, and people look like they're having a good time. It's probably more crowded than I'm comfortable with it being, like with COVID times or whatever. Like, it's like vibrant crowded. but under normal circumstances, that looks like it would be an awesome place to have a bite. It ain't easy being green, y'all. Look at this light. Why am I green? This behind me is a really famous temple called Higashi Honganji. I think I got that right. And like, give me some credit here. Like, I'm not in my normal hood. I don't know the names of everything here. Anyway, when I was walking past this on my way to my hotel when I first arrived in Kyoto, I saw a sign that's like, there's a light up. It's like, oh, it must be at this place. Only it's not at that place. So the effort that I'm going into to find this light up thing is raising, which means the odds of it being logistically closed are high. This is what we've learned, right? So I am headed back to where the map said it was, which is only a block away. So let's hope that it's actually happening and that it's dope. If it's not a big deal. It was only like a 20-minute, 30-minute walk from where I was, so it's not the end of the world. This is a good sign. I think I found my thing. This illumination is a traditional Japanese garden that's actually pretty big. It's like a large city block that this covers. And they have set up certain areas where there are lights set up. And they are usually set up around the areas where there are little ponds. And because there's absolutely no wind, the ponds and the reflections and the lights and everything, it just makes it like a mirror. It's really cool. It's really quiet and peaceful and atmospheric in here. They've done an incredible job of just making everything feel like you're immersed in this illumination. It's not like any level of gaudiness or anything like that. It's really, really tranquil. It's really beautiful and it's really well done. And it was free. This time, I'm red. It's because I'm standing next to like one of these guys, one of these lanterns. You just gotta find a light source, you know what I mean? Anything will do. So I had another meal where I wasn't allowed to film. And it was a little ramen joint, and it's a typical kind of like ramen joint where you sit at a little counter and they're making the food like right in front of you. But because of COVID times, they've got these plastic walls up that divided where everybody is sitting, and they've got a sign on the plastic wall that says, please don't make any videos in here. And it specifically says you're allowed to take photos of your food and stuff. So I was like, hey, can I make a video if I don't talk, like if it's quiet? And he was like, yeah, it's fine. So I made a little video of it quietly so you can kind of at least see what's going on. And the meal that I got is called tsukemen. And tsukemen's typically served with kind of a strong fishy taste, and I think it's a result of dashi that they put into it. But I've never really like gotten down and into what the why is to what it is that I don't like about it. But this one was a miso tsukemen. So I was like, okay, miso usually has a pretty thick flavor. I'm going to give it a go. And I gave it a go, and it was good. And there is that slight flavor in there that I'm not a big fan of, but it was not overpowering at all. The overwhelming flavor was miso and actually some spice that they added. The other characteristic of tsukemen is they serve the noodles separately from the broth. So they will give you the broth and everything that would be like a normal soup, and it's got no noodles in it, of course. The noodles are served on a plate to the side, and the way that the noodles are typically made is they make them like normal noodles in hot water, and then they cool them off. So they're served to you and they're actually cold. They like run cold water over them. So you've got warm noodles that were made cold that you then put into your warm broth to warm back up. And the purpose of all of this is to keep the textures and the temperature differences are like kind of part of the flavor. Like, I think that a lot of times maybe people outside of Japan don't think of textures and temperatures quite as much as they do with their dishes here, but it matters. So you've got this like kind of cold-ish noodle, and the noodle is usually fairly big with tsukemen, like thick, like the radius of it. So it's a bit chewy, and like that whole experience is just like what ties the entire thing together. And they were doing a very good job. It was a very good meal. I think it was like 900 yen, so it was like $8.50 or something like that. And it was perfect because it's been a little cold out. I mean, it's not freezing. It's like 8 degrees Celsius, I think. But, you know, it's enough that a warm bowl of broth with noodles, I was going to say a warm bowl of noodles, but not really accurate. A warm bowl of broth with some cold noodles that I make warm worked out really well.
Eric, I don't feel well.
Why not?
I have a headache.
Do you?
Yeah, but now I'm all smiles because the camera's here. But I feel like shit.
It's like how you fake it for the internet. Remember those people on the internet said, we be faking it, y'all.
Yeah. Here, Faking it. Here, not faking it. Feels terrible.
I gave her 2 pills, though, so I did what I could do.
Yeah, he went to the bathroom and got the medicine.
This is the end card for the second video from the Kyoto series that I shot down there by myself. And this is just where we remind everybody to leave comments down below, and that helps hopefully the channel expand. And then the like button, and then the bell if you've subscribed. And then when I post videos, your phone will like go and then that's pretty exciting. To be real, that's kind of exciting. Like I have a button that I can push, and like maybe like 1,000 people's phone goes it's kind of a weird power. So if you want to be part of that power, then ring the bell.
And you can go onto Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Discord, and sometimes we be up on that Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get up on that Twitch. I've asked you to play Lolo like 6 times.
Yeah.
It's seriously like the 6th time.
We're gonna play some Lolo. I think when we move, I'm gonna have things a little more established and stuff. So we're moving in like a couple of weeks, so that'll be coming. Hopefully, we'll be big famous Twitch stars by then, with the support of everybody going over there and following us.
Yeah, ring that bell. We're trying to brand.
I don't know if there's a bell on Twitch. I have no idea.
I don't care as long as we brand.